Hello and welcome to the Vlatko Cancar episode of the Hoop Theory podcast, aka episode 49. My name is Logan Wortman, and as usual, I am joined by my bombastic co-host, Jacob Roth. Jacob, what do you think about Vlatko Cancar being the player chosen to represent this episode?
It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's the second one that we've done that it's not the jersey number, it's the pick that he was.
What were some other notables for pick 49?
Eddie Johnson was probably the best player.
Yeah. Cancar just got the nod because of the
exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
There were a few people, definitely a handful of people you would probably put over Vlatko Cancar in terms of career accolades.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wanted to give it to him. One, because I love him and he's a Nugget. Two, because he's injured now and it's a pick-me-up, when he hears this, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty sure that Coach Michael Malone, plays our episodes in the locker room.
Yeah. That would be awesome. One day we can hope to get there. I feel
like that's the opposite. Because Michael Malone seems like the most not anti-media, but I don't want my players thinking about what the media is saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And we're not professional media.
Mm-hmm.
But we're media, in a weird sense.
Yeah.
Because of social media, everyone can be media. You know what I mean?
True. Very true.
Dropping knowledge bombs and
even athletes.
Transitions.
Even
athletes can be media.
Yeah.
And when they say stupid stuff, it explodes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When was this? Was this yesterday?
Yesterday or 2 days ago. It was very recent.
Okay. Today is when I've seen everything about it for the most part. I think I saw it for the first time yesterday, but a lot of stuff today has been going on.
For those wondering what we're talking about, it's Noah Lyles.
Mm-hmm.
U.S. 200-meter sprinter?
I don't even know. I know he's a sprinter. I don't even know what. This is the first time I've been hearing of him, honestly.
Oh, no, he's elite. He's very good.
I believe it, but I just don't pay attention to most things. So
it looks like he said it sometime yesterday.
Okay, yeah. And it was a press conference. And so I'll play the audio for you, those at home, so you get the context of what we're talking about right now.
The thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA Finals, and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times, but that ain't the world. That is not the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show that they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA.
Yeah, so that was pretty wild. There's a lot of NBA players responding via comments on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that.
KD, D-Book, Dame Lillard, Aaron Gordon, Tyus Jones, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, Udonis Haslem. And that's
Juancho did? What did he say? I didn't see any European. I was curious to see if a European player would say something.
Last time I checked, because I'm guessing this is him, it's Juan on Juan 10.
That might be him. I'm not sure. Let me look that up.
It's an Instagram thing. Juan on Juan.
Yeah, but I don't know why he would have 10 in his. He's
Maybe
number 41.
That's his real number that he likes.
Oh, Juan Toscano Anderson.
Oh, so never mind. Sorry.
So he's from America, but I want to see a European player's take on it. I want to see because that would be the most legitimate take. Because one of the big things that a lot of the pushback that I see from not pushback, but people supporting Noah Lyles' take is people saying that Americans are so entitled. That's the problem. What the issue is that he's pointing out is that Americans are so entitled that they have to call themselves the world champions when it's just the American League's championship.
Yeah, and the thing that I think is weird is like, so to put it out there, me and Logan, I guess we haven't even talked about it. I'm pretty sure we're on the same page. He's a crazy person.
Yeah, Noah Lyles. Yeah.
Yeah, to freak out about it. Because, like, not the whole U.S. is so inflated, so we think it's, but like, his argument of, like, or it's the argument more that people are making of, like, well, the Champions League people, or the Premier, like, whatever, when they all get together, they don't call themselves the world champions then. Well, it's because there's, like, an organized, world championship that happens every 4 years.
Yeah, which does for basketball too, but it's a way less prominent. Like, it's not as covered or as.
And the other thing I would argue is it's like, that's like a country thing. You know what I mean? Like it just is a very different
than what?
So like the NBA is they're the world champions because this is all of the players across the whole world.
Yeah.
If you're the best, come and play in this one league that happens to be in the United States and Canada. Mr. Noah, I don't know if I've called him Trey Lyles on accident during this already, but
I don't think you have yet.
Noah Lyles.
Yeah.
Toronto feels disrespected. I'm from the six. I'm not actually from the six. But maybe they're like, the reason that I argue that the NBA has the quote unquote right to say world champions is because everyone from across the world, let me rephrase that. Very few people are in the EuroLeague or in whatever league and are like, you know what? I'm staying here because this is the best competition. People, like, there's a couple exceptions. Some guys stay over there, or some guys go back over there.
Like lifestyle, like a lot of people that stay over there because they don't want to leave home.
And that's totally justified.
Yeah.
But, like, everyone's trying to get to the NBA.
There's definitely not a United States, like somebody from not from Europe, somebody that isn't from Europe, it isn't associated with Europe at all, that is good enough to be in the NBA. That would choose, like, no, I'd rather go play in the EuroLeague. Unless it's, like, from the standpoint of, I would be, like, the number one player or number two player on my team versus, like, the end of a bench guy, like, something like that.
And so there's, like, but, like, logically, but, like, I just don't get it. And also, why did he get mad at the NBA? Almost every major sport does that.
Yeah.
Like, it's the World Series. Ooh!
Oh, yeah, true. That's in the freaking title of the thing. That's what I was going to say. Like, I don't think the NBA...
the MLB is the top baseball league, but, like...
There's other countries that are really good at baseball.
Yeah. Like, and they have the world... Oh, I'm going to blank what it's called. Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout in the championship game. World Classic? Something like that?
I know they used to be in the Olympics. Baseball used to be an Olympic event.
I'm going to get flamed on the internet for this one. Just kidding. Most people think I'm stupid already. Baseball World Classic. Or World Baseball Classic. Japan won. United States didn't win.
And I'm sure, like, Dominican Republic and a lot of the Latin American countries are really good. I mean, Puerto Rico's counts as... Do they play in that? Do they have their own team? Oh, yeah, that's right. They do in that's really weird. They do in FIBA. Puerto Rico has its own team. I never thought about that before. Puerto Rico is not a country. It's part of America, but
it's a weird magical thing.
Like they want to be a state. They've been asking for a while now that they want statehood. They're just a United States territory.
I don't know if this could be a different time talk, but that's an interesting thing.
Okay.
It's an unincorporated territory.
Yeah.
So it's not a sovereign nation nor a state, but it's its own entity thing.
It's a territory that's owned by the United States government, though.
An unincorporated territory, yes.
Unincorporated just meaning that it doesn't have statehood. I'm pretty sure is all that means.
But it's also not a territory. Because territory is the step before statehood. So it's a territory.
There's a difference between unincorporated territory and territory. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Pretty sure.
I don't. Yeah.
I would need to read into it because I haven't thought about this in a long time, but I'm pretty sure.
I know that the US, they get taxes and stuff comes through the US from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Anyways, what are we talking about?
Noah Lyles.
Yeah, but what was the bridge off of our conversation that led us to Puerto Rico?
So why he was so focused on NBA?
Yeah,
I see world champions on their heads. Also, the way that he opened the whole thing had big "I'm a 12-year-old and I've got beef with another 12-year-old" energy.
Yeah, it had some weird energy to it for sure. But the World Series thing, like that was a great point that you brought up. I didn't even think about that. Like that's way worse than what the NBA does. Because I was arguing with somebody on Instagram today, telling him that I don't think that it's the NBA that officially classifies, like they don't call the award like the World Championship trophy, or like they don't, it's not like an official legal term that the NBA office is like stamping onto things. It's just people say that because it's like it makes sense. Like it's not a crazy thing to say, and it like if any basketball team, if any championship in the world of basketball were to be considered the world championship, it would be the NBA championship. That's just a fact. Like that would be considered the world. Like there's every 4 years the FIBA World Cup, but that's like nation on nation. You know what I mean? Like
it's like a different thing.
Yeah,
it's not like constructing the best team possible as a competition.
Exactly. Yeah,
and that's like what the NBA is everyone's like that's widely recognized. I don't think it's like a hot take.
Yeah,
the NBA is the highest level of competition in baseball.
I would say that's even
basketball. That would be a hot take if it said baseball. But
I would say that's even like it's even more of a legitimate world championship than like the Olympics is, because like the Olympics is like what we're saying. It's like it's nation on nation.
Yeah.
And so in a specific event that like the one country like invented and is dominant at, like it's not that impressive when they win every time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like that's why football, NFL, you get called the world champions, but I'm like, okay.
But if you just have a league that's like, regardless of where you're from, if you're really good at basketball, you play in this league.
Yeah.
You know? And then the best team out of all of those teams is the best, that's like the more impressive feat. I feel like.
Like, and that's my other thing is like, they don't, when they like, let's say World Cup, Women's World Cup just frequently wrapped up. Shout out to Spain, getting things done. I'm pretty sure Spain won. I think Spain beat England in the final. Anyway.
In what? Was
it the Women's World
Cup? Oh, soccer. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not the person to ask.
But anyway, like, what was it? Oh, when they talk about those World Cups, they don't go like, I'll flip to the men's side because that's what my thought was. The big problem that people had with the U.S. team, well, there's not a whole lot of European soccer. Like, there's not a lot of Americans playing in the Premier League. And now that's like the big thing is, the Team USA is catching up because more people are going over to play in the Premier League, in different leagues that aren't the U.S. league, because the U.S., the MLS, is not the highest level of soccer. Because that's why you can have dudes like Messi roll up and turn a team that was about to miss the MLS playoffs, and now they're going to the quarter or semifinals because he just shows up and just dots of people up because he's better.
Yeah.
Like the NBA is just the highest level of basketball league that is not a country-based thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anyway, just got me fired up.
Yeah. And like the Champions League point that people were making that, like winners of the Champions League, that's the best soccer league on the planet. But even those guys, like they don't call themselves the world champions. The point is, like the entire point is, if someone were to call them the world champions, that would be valid.
That would be almost correct. Not even valid. It just would be right.
Yeah. So like that's the whole point. Like I don't think that it's wrong to call the winners of the Champions League the world champions.
But does Noah Lyles,
that is the case, that if it's like basically the NBA equivalent in soccer.
But does Noah Lyles' comments now validate the Bill Simmons take of the in-season tournament will now turn into like a Premier League or whatever they call that, the Champions League tournament?
I thought
for
about
basketball.
That too, because you had brought that up on a different episode, and I thought about that today while I was like, if there's this amount, it seems like there's a healthy amount of people on the other side of this argument
that aren't convinced that the
NBA isn't like on a different level. Like, I'm like, maybe there is like some possibility that what Jacob was saying about, combining like having European teams from the Euro League and different leagues around the world coming together to play like some tournament.
And I would like to point out, I don't think that like the European leagues are trash. I think the champions of European leagues are legitimate playoff teams. Like they're not bad at all. Like they're very like they're
I wouldn't
good.
go that far.
Legitimate play-in, whatever playoff teams.
Think the thing is, I would say every single team in the NBA, most of the time, I would say this is like if it's not true, then it's very close to true. The very worst team in the NBA against any other team from any other professional league, a basketball league, would be favored in a
7-game series.
Yeah. If that's not 100% true, then it would be close.
It'd be close, a strong 95% of the time, if not more.
Yeah. Like, I would be surprised if there's, like, I don't even know who, like, it's just,
and I guess it depends on the year also, because I would argue that, like Luka cooking over there, when he was over there,
yeah,
like, him alone could have done some things against an NBA team.
And it also depends on what context you're playing in. Like, if it's like, if it's like an NBA if it's like an NBA playoff series, that's where I would take any NBA team. But if you're playing like a Euro Cup, style, FIBA style
groups, and then
that would be a lot different. I'm not sure.
Also, we'll talk about this later. France? What? Huh?
Yabusele. Evan Fournier.
No, did you see what happened?
What about? I'm
they
not sure.
They lost both of their first group games, so they're already eliminated from medal contention.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Who'd they lose to?
They lost to Serbia.
Oh, that's not a easy win.
They lost to one that is not ideal. Slovenia. No, that's
still is Luka Doncic probably the best player in this entire tournament.
Oh, they got blown up by 30 by Canada,
probably,
and lost to Latvia without Kristaps.
Yeah, were the Bertans brothers playing for Latvia? I'm guessing.
I don't know. I just know they lost by 2, and now they play Lebanon, and it doesn't matter because they're already removed from medal contention.
That's pretty crazy.
But I was more shocked by the 30-burger by Canada without Jamal Murray. Obviously, they have Shea, and Shea just was like, I'm him. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about FIBA in a lot more depth. Do you have any other points on this Noah Lyles thing? I kind of get his thought of just microscopically. Like, I just think that he looked at it in, like, the most convenient way for his viewpoint possible.
Yeah, exactly. If he were to make that point a lot less aggressively, I wouldn't mind it. Like, it'd be like, okay, you're just an Olympic person, like, making your point about how the Olympics is so awesome and important. Like, sure.
No, but for running, he would be right. If the U.S. had, like, a track league that people watched and they called themselves the world champions, that'd be stupid. But, like, that's not what the NBA is.
What if that's where every top sprinter in the world competes? But like, that's the thing. When he's talking about the NBA, that's the pinnacle of basketball. That is where every player around the world dreams of playing when they're pursuing their basketball dreams. That's like,
because you look at the top 10 players. We'll go in 5 years, the top 5 players in the NBA. We'll say Jokic is there. So we have Serbia, Greece, Latvia, or Lithuania. Where's Luka?
Slovenia?
Slovenia. My brain's breaking. Sorry. A United States and a Canada. Shea's going to be there.
Oh, wait, are you saying 5? When? In like
5-10 years.
Oh, I thought you were talking about right now. Okay.
Oh, no. I was like saying a little bit after like all of the, so there was no like, well, LeBron should be up there.
No, but okay. I would say right now, the top 5, there's at least 4 foreign-born players that have to be in. If they're not in the top 5, it's invalid unless I guess you could make an argument Embiid's like 6th or something. But like,
oh yeah. I guess I totally forgot about Embiid.
Jokic, Luka, Giannis, or I'll say Jokic, Giannis to do it more in order. Steph, I'll put 3rd. He's American. Luka, I'll put 4th. He's Slovenian. 5th, I'll put Embiid. He's Cameroonian. And then 6th, I'll probably put Jason Tatum. And there's another American. But
like
out of the top 6, there's 4, or in the top 5, there's only 1 United States born player, or not even born, just like culture grew up in America in general. Like,
yeah, it is a very much international league.
Yeah.
Just because
all of those guys don't speak English as their first language.
Well, no, and I'd like to see the breakdown eventually of like, what is the breakdown of U.S. Canada born compared to everywhere else? Like, what is it? It can't be.
It's still.
I know. I'm sure
bigger.
It's like 2080 or something like that. But
I think that's like it's a weird amount of the very top of the top people are from not America.
No, because those are the people that are willing to move. If you're going to be a middle of the road guy, or you could be the best guy and stay home with your, like you brought up this point earlier. If you can be the number 1 guy on your own team and stay home, you would just do that instead of going to be a 4th option on an NBA team.
Yeah.
If you're content with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just looking at all-stars, though, like the top 5 all-stars, 4 of them are foreign-born. But if you go like the rest, there's like only maybe 4 more. You know what I mean?
At the top level.
Yeah, that are all-stars. All-star. Like there's about as many in the top 5 as there are in from 6 through 20.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a weird like distribution of them.
And it honestly just might be a times thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like it's when looking at all of basketball history, this is a very small sample when you're just taking a snapshot right now,
Especially to this level of like how international basketball is. This is like we are in the equivalent of like the birth of like really things getting started in terms of like it being normal for guys to be like, okay, I'm better than a lot of people around me. I'm going to go try and play in the United States. And going from there. That's just like going to become the normal. And
I mean, look at Facu Campazzo. He was in the 2nd highest level of basketball in the world. He was like a perennial top 3 player in that league, in that whole circuit, the Euro circuit. Like he was he was the starting point guard on the all 2010s team for the Euro League. Like that's a very high level to reach there. And like when he played in the NBA, he barely saw the court except for when everyone on the team was injured in front of him, and he didn't stay in the league very long. He was not, like that's the level of difference between that league to this one. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought I saw an actually Luka take on this no Lyles thing, but it's definitely fake.
Oh. Yeah.
Because it says, Lyles is not wrong. I'm from Slovenia, and I'm the face of the NBA. I'm not American. I'm a proud Slovenian. That's all it says.
You play...
No, I'm just kidding. This can't be real.
Yeah, like, I know, but I'm saying that the fact that sounds like some of the... Like, what a lot of the people are saying, and what Noah Lyles is saying, that doesn't even make any sense. Because that's... who brought up Americans? Why are we assuming that everybody in the NBA is American? Like, you just brought up a very prime example of somebody who's very important in the NBA who's not American. There's a very, like, every single team in the NBA has at least a few not American players, at least like 3 or 4 on every roster.
But apparently Popovich is on Team Lyles.
Really?
According to... I just want to make sure this is real before I start, like, saying things.
Interesting. Well, the thing is, I don't think that it's crazy to say that you shouldn't call it the World Championship, but to say that it's like crazy to say that like it doesn't make sense to, you get what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I can't follow, because I'm like, it definitely makes sense. You can very easily make the case for why, like, if you were to deem somebody the world champions of the basketball world champions, then it would be the winners of the NBA title. That is just like the default selection in that type of a question. But anyways, so moving on to the NBA though, before we get into FIBA, the schedule was released a couple of weeks ago now, but we didn't highlight it last episode. But it's interesting. This is always interesting to look at how many nationally televised games every team has from across the league. And this season is no exception. One number that just jumped out to me as I scrolled down is interesting. But before we get to that one, we'll just go with like number one. The number one team, it's no surprise, but they have literally half of their season's games as nationally televised games. And that is the Golden State Warriors with 41. So literally
I thought
half.
It was a little wildly high for like a team that's like, I guess they won an NBA championship 2 years ago. I just feel like it's like there's a real
like
chance
a year ago,
if
really,
Steph,
but
if Steph gets 2 seasons ago, if
Yeah.
Steph gets hurt or doesn't play a whole lot of games, this is not a great basketball team.
No, but I think you'll still see a lot of, just based off the sheer number of Warriors fans there are, like you're still going to get numbers of people tuning in, and that's like the whole
volume
point
you
with
want.
these.
Yeah, that's true. I just like mentally, I'm just like,
You think of like level of goodness of a team, you know?
like it's like, yeah, if you're a good team, you should get more.
Yeah. Usually that's like directly linked because better teams, you know, people want to watch more. But there's some exceptions where it's like the Lakers, even when they were terrible, were getting around 30 to 40 nationally televised games.
Yeah. And they're got that again this year, but they're not terrible this year. So
yeah. So this year they are second with one less than Golden State. They have 40. And who's even next after that? I see one team with 37. I think that might be third.
Suns there.
Phoenix Suns have 37. Obviously, they got KD, Brad Beal, Devin Booker. So that's not super surprising. I think it is a little bit of a jump over the Nuggets in a way that feels a little disrespectful, but I'll let it slide because the Nuggets are a smaller market for sure.
I think if the Nuggets like continue the run like we like kind of are expecting,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I feel like in 2 years this list will probably be like flip, like the Nuggets will be in that. Maybe not Golden State, half their games are nationally televised, but they will have a healthy, large chunk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they already do because they're sitting at 30, but we can go back to in order. I think next is
Boston.
My Celtics at 34.
Yep. Boston with 34. And then after that, which that makes a lot of sense, by the way. I think, honestly, that might be a little bit low.
Yeah.
I feel like it's weird that the Suns have more than the Celtics, honestly.
I feel like when you get to this many, I'm like,
yeah, it's a lot.
Okay. Like the Marcus Smart, I haven't looked. Like I like know when play February 4, I'm pretty sure is when Marcus Smart returns to TD Garden. But like I'm sure that one will be nationally televised, even though it's Grizzlies like Celtics, not exactly a historic rivalry, but that's just it's usually a storyline and a good team is why they like do stuff. Because like we've talked about this before, when the Celtics passed the Lakers as the most wins, like as winningest, most wins, or is that best percentage? Anyway, most wins.
Most wins, total wins.
Mm-hmm. So most total wins. The Celtics played the Lakers in a primetime on TV game, and they were tied.
Uh-huh.
And that's when the Celtics went above, and it was like,
yep. And all the games scheduled around when LeBron was going to beat the scoring record.
Yep.
Last year was all like great choices for places to have that game. And then
they gave him like, what was it? A 7-game home stretch or something like crazy?
There's a lot of home games. And then there was the games that were away whereas Madison Square Garden.
Just these historic places. Yeah.
And well, not necessarily. So Madison Square Garden, just because of it's like the pinnacle, it's like the mecca of basketball. And then one of the other ones was Cleveland because of obviously. I think Miami might have been one of the places too.
Oh, because he played whatever.
Yeah, and Miami then the other one was Milwaukee because Kareem, like, is who we would be passing.
It was very logically spaced around in between these giant like home stretches.
Yeah.
The Miami one would have been the most disappointing by miles.
Yeah.
Because Miami fans...
That might have been on, like, the outside of the zone. Like, that, you know.
Scroll back on our TikTok if you're bored. Go... look for this video of me yelling. I talk about how crappy Miami is as fans.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yep. That's like the most editing I've ever, like, there's not a single TikTok that we have that's like that one. You know what I mean?
It's a monster of its own. Very entertaining.
Yeah.
Like the editing part of it. Me yelling is whatever. That's another.
I mean, that's half the
$8.
battle, honestly. Is you got to have like the funny things to say, and then I put pictures up on the screen when you say things. But and then so after the Celtics, then we got a couple teams at 30, and that is the Denver Nuggets and the Milwaukee Bucks, which I saw some like memes of people making jokes about how like, oh, the Nuggets won the championship. So the league's like, all right, we'll put you on the Bucks track. Like you're just going to take the Bucks route, which like after they won the championship is when they were like, all right, here you go. 30 televised games or nationally televised games. And it's funny that they are exactly at the same number this year. Right after that is another pretty big market, but also a good team, Philadelphia 76ers at 29. Where's Chicago at now that I'm thinking about this? Just because like the market size.
7.
They only have 7?
Well, they're Dookie shoes, brother.
I know that they're not great, but still, I would think Chicago I mean, I guess it's been a while, but.
This is another question I have. And we could do a whole nother episode on this stupid market size thing. Because I get it, but sometimes I'm like, but like, for Chicago, are they a big basketball market if Michael Jordan's never there? Even though they're a big sports market?
Not even close to as big. No, because the Bulls were like they were like a joke in Chicago. Like Chicago was like Bears, that like a Bear city only. And then Michael Jordan happened, and then the Bulls are like in the same category as the Bears.
Which is wild. Chicago people that complain about being like a little bit bad now. Your football team went from peak, wins a Super Bowl in 85, and they start to kind of go down. Who showed up in Chicago in 1985? Like, don't complain that you magically had the years line up.
Yeah.
Now
also,
that
the Cubs have always been pretty big too.
But they're bad. They were like, they didn't have a World Series for.
Yeah, but aren't the Cubs like, in terms of baseball markets, I feel like Cubs are probably top 5.
They're big.
Yeah.
And White Sox are not for some reason.
Yeah, because they're like the little brother.
Is who owns the White Sox.
So the guy who used to own or still owns the Bulls.
It's like he had both of those. And I don't know who the owner of the Bears is. Yes, I do. I know his face.
But so anyways, the market size thing, just like the Bulls are, Chicago is the 3rd biggest city in the U.S. and Bulls are just like a very popular team nationwide as well.
Okay. Also, apologies before somebody jumps down my throat. George Halas, like I know the guy that started owning it. Now it's his daughter, who is a very old woman. So it's Virginia Halas McCaskey. Very Chicago sounding name.
Yeah, it is that McCaskey part, especially. But yeah, so Chicago being at 7 is a bit surprising for that reason, because of just like, I mean, we live in Omaha, or you don't live in Omaha, but you live another place in Nebraska, like a couple hours away. For those who don't know, but yeah, so in this part of the country, we don't really have a basketball team close. And this was actually a question on one of the TikToks recently. Somebody asked what team like we root for because if we live in Nebraska. And I was like, well, I'm a Nuggets fan. Jacob here, he's a Celtics fan. But in general, in Nebraska, I would say it's really all over the place in terms of what people root for.
So like it's also crazy because like I feel like football, it's like semi-regional because you get like Packers people.
Yeah.
Chiefs people.
I think mostly Chiefs people.
From Broncos people.
Yeah, there's some Broncos for sure, too.
Well, and the Chiefs are good now. And Kansas City fans are the worst fans on the planet because there's a ton of them when their teams are good, and they're nowhere to be found when their teams are bad. But you seen a Royals fan in the past 15 years? Or 10 years, whenever they won the World Series? Was that 2014? No, it was later.
What did you ask?
Sorry, I said that really fast. Royals fans or Chiefs fans, when they get bad, are the worst in our area because they disappear. They just go.
I feel like my entire life I've always seen Royals and Chiefs. Like every time I walk into Shields, They're all over the place. You know what I mean?
Fans or things to sell?
Things to sell, which is kind of the same thing, but because it's what people buy.
Well, yeah, because yes, but no, Packers has a very strong presence. Vikings, not as much so. I'm further west than Logan. I'm in the middle of the state. A lot of Denver Broncos stuff out here.
Yeah, that would make sense. Especially and when Peyton Manning went to the Broncos, that was very prominent in the Lincoln and Omaha area as well.
The Broncos really exploded. I like New England because Bo Rude got drafted there, former Nebraska middle linebacker. And then when I was finding my other teams, I just said, I'm going to stay in the Boston area. So that's Celtics has nothing to do with good. I started watching the Celtics in like 2013, probably.
When they were
bad. Jeff Green was our best player. Rondo, sorry, disrespectful. But like Jeff Green was like kind of the guy.
The number one option in terms of scoring.
And not disrespectful to Uncle Jeff, but it just was not necessarily a peak of Celtics fandom memory.
Yeah. Not quite as bad as like 10 years before that, but still.
Like right before the Big Three formed.
Yeah. But and when Paul Pierce was drafted, and that whole, there's a pretty long stretch there, but the what we were saying about Kansas City before, though, like I feel like Kansas City and all other pro sports, if like the sports that they have a pro team in, that is kind of the default answer for like most like fans here in Nebraska, just because that is like 3 times as close as any other city that has pro teams.
If you're in Lincoln or Omaha in the East half,
yeah, that's true. From where the majority of the population is in Nebraska, it's like 3 hours away. So versus like 8 to Denver and 9 to Chicago and 8-ish to Minnesota or Minneapolis, and then there's OKC and basketball. That's like 6 hours. But so when I became a fan of basketball, OKC didn't have a team. And so the Denver Nuggets were arguably the closest, so that's, and also because they had Carmelo Anthony and Allen Iverson. And then right after that, Chauncey Billups, like that was just my favorite team. But, anyways, going back to what I started this about, like Chicago being like a big, franchise. What I was going to say is in this area, Chicago might be the number, like in the Lincoln and Omaha area, as far as NBA teams go, I would be like Bulls are they're a pretty good candidate, is what I'm saying, for being number one.
And I think another reason for that is because of
proximity.
Proximity, and then like they were good. That's why there's like Cowboys fans all over and 49ers fans that exist in Nebraska. It's because like, Joe Montana was good. And then like a dad liked that team. And then his son's like, well, I'm supposed to like the 49ers because no one's close. Going back to basketball, which was the start of it, same thing with the Bulls. If a dad watched young Michael Jordan and have this crazy season as an 87 is the insane season.
Yeah. 86 and 87. But all of those really.
But like if a dad watched that, was like, he's insane. And then they started winning championships, and then he has a kid that's our age, like, I'm just a Bulls fan, even though nothing but sadness outside of peak Derrick Rose since then. But
basically, honestly, not a whole lot of stuff to root for. They had
third in MVP voting, Joakim Noah. I can't disrespect that, man.
Yeah.
He deserved it too. That's the best part.
That's the kind of the worst part, honestly. Honestly.
No, that he was third in MVP. Like, no, I'm more saying that like in the NBA, he was that good at that time. The fact that it's your peak,
I think it was more. I think it says more about the state of the NBA at the time than it does how good Joakim Noah was. But it does say some about both for sure. Joakim Noah at his peak was definitely better than people would think.
People will ever remember.
Yeah. But the NBA as a whole was in a very dark place in the early 2010s for just a short bit. But
it was just, anyway.
Yeah. So kind of removing ourselves out of this conversation that I feel like is a little pointless.
It's entertaining.
Yeah. The rest of like the nationally televised games, we got the Clippers at 22 because they're an LA team. There's Miami at 24 because, Miami's a pretty big market as well. New York, the biggest market, has 25. But at the same time, like this isn't, because this is only including TNT, ESPN, and NBA TV, but MSN or whatever New York Knicks like local network is basically a national network. You know, like basically every Knicks game is a nationally televised game. Just not as much as the other ones, but yeah. And Toronto is also, in a way, you could say, is a nationally televised game because everybody in Canada gets the Raptors games. You know,
is that like a thing they do?
TSN, yeah, is like it's called the Sports Network. That is the name.
It's not Toronto Sports Network?
I always thought for a long time it was Toronto Sports Network. It's the Sports Network.
Because I watched their stuff for hockey, and they're all like big Maple Leafs people. That's why I always thought it has to be based out of Toronto. Then
I'm not sure.
One of their offices is in Toronto.
Yeah,
or
something. But I know that like Montreal Canadiens, like the games their channel, like the channel their games are on, I'm pretty sure is TSN as well. Like it's like all of the Canadian teams really. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm
so it's definitely the Sports Network.
Yeah,
that's dope. Shout out to Canada. Sorry though,
San Antonio has 19. I'm also just noticing that.
It's Wemby.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That team doesn't not. I don't want to say deserve, but like it's Wemby.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be a spectacle. Especially, I think the Britney Spears thing has just elevated his level of stardom. Honestly,
to people outside of basketball,
yeah,
he's like they know his name like they know LeBron James's name because Britney Spears got like punched.
How crazy is it also that Britney Spears just sees him in public and knows who he is? Like, did she have somebody in her entourage or somebody that like or something that told her who he is? Like, or do you think that she actually just recognized him? Like she's just that much of a hoops fan or something.
For what it's worth, he was kind of everywhere on everything, like right before that. I just remember like Fox News at the top of the hour definitely sprinkled in a wee little bit of
Wembanyama.
Of Wemby talk.
Yeah. But yeah, for those who somehow, if they don't know about what we're talking about, Britney Spears walked up to Wembanyama wanting to get a picture with him or something. She went up to him, just kind of ran up on him, and a security guard just kind of like flung his hand back at her and
just hand checked her.
Yeah, but he hit her in like the face, didn't he?
It's good defense in 1985.
Yeah, he basically slapped her across the face.
It was funny,
but
I'm sorry, but it was hysterical.
But yeah, like most people's take on that was like, why is Britney Spears just running up on a guy? Like, she should know not to do that. You know, it's kind of her fault in a way. Obviously, she probably shouldn't have got slapped in the face, but that, you know, she shouldn't have just run up on him unannounced like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he has a security like detail, you know, around him.
Also, this is interesting to me. So as we're kind of making our way down this list, I'm looking at some of the like. I think the lowest we said somebody has is 4. Because we've got Pistons at 4.
I think Hornets there's somebody with lower. Or no, it might be just 4.
Yeah, because it's Washington at 4, Toronto at 4, Houston at 4, Detroit at 4, and Hornets at 4.
Did you say Pistons?
Yeah, I did it during one of my listings. I definitely said Pistons. But
okay.
The reason that I bring that up is because in my brain, I'm like, that seems like nothing. Because that's like 5% of your schedule. Yeah. Because like in the NFL, I feel like everybody gets at least 1, maybe 2 primetime slots.
Prime time? Or just you mean like...
No, like a Thursday night, a Monday night, or a Sunday night.
Really? Every team?
I don't know if it's guaranteed, but I feel like almost Thursday night usually is when you get like turd versus turd.
So it's not really prime time, but it's like...
No, but it is. Because it's
prime
like
time for that day.
Well, because it's the only... Like, football's also different because there's no other games going on Thursday. 7 o'clock
Yeah, but like ratings wise, I'm sure Sunday night gets way more.
Sunday night's way bigger. Monday night's way bigger. Thursday night. Well, and it's just because Thursday night, I don't know why because they could put the bad teams on Monday night and they would still get okay ratings. But they've done all these weird gimmicks like Color Rush. If you've heard of the Color Rush jerseys, and you've probably seen them, they're these where they just make them go mono, just one color, and it was like a big appeal. But then they had like trot off like the Jacksonville Jaguars before Bortles and their defense was struggling, and like the Carolina Panthers, and you're like, now that's compelling. Well, not really. It'll be a slaughter. The Jaguars just kill the Panthers. But anyway, what did it? Oh, it's just weird to me because I feel like that's so much less primetime time. But then I think about it: 17 weeks or 18 weeks, but 17 games. 1% of 17 is like a strong 5% because I don't want to do the actual math. So it's actually not that different. That was all I was going to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's like the Kings with 22, which is the number that I was like, wow.
The one that made me the most mad, the Oklahoma City Thunder have 13 nationally televised games. 13.
I feel like that's good for them, honestly.
Well, this criminally, I guess maybe this is just as like a Josh Giddey, Timothy Chalamet fanboy that I am.
The thing is, the Thunder are like more of a basketball nerd's favorite team. More so than like, just people in general. Like,
not everybody stays up to watch the Thunder and Kings every single night they play.
Yeah, Kings is more mainstream because of the memes and everything.
Like
Thunder is like people who are freaks about basketball. Like
because they're just pure to watch. The torture chamber, oof.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's been cooking in the World Cup. No, he didn't play in the World Cup
for Canada. He's on the team. At least
he's on the team, but I think somebody's not playing.
Jamal's not playing right now.
I knew that.
At least.
Late scratch for Team Canada.
Oh, he was. Okay.
So he's not playing. He's not cooking. I love the torture chamber nickname. I don't know where I heard it, but I love it.
Yeah. It's one of the best, honestly, of the active players. But New Orleans finally doesn't have like 30. They only have 12. I think the people making the schedule was finally like, I'm not doing this another year of Zion missing like over half of these games that we're putting on national TV. So, because if he's not playing, then it's not really worth it. It's not getting near as many eyeballs. And even at this point, he's probably drawing less eyeballs than he was a couple of years ago.
He's just drawing eyeballs on different websites.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, anyways, we should probably get to FIBA stuff because we're just kind of like lingering on this for no
Sorry
real
if we didn't say your
reason.
favorite team. They probably have a normalish amount of games. Give it a goog.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For sure. And also for people who want us to talk about certain teams, we're going to have an episode for each division leading up to the NBA season. And go through each team in that division to give our like kind of predictions. I'm going to have some like an outline of like questions of like different categories of, making
guys
predictions.
To watch, thoughts, things like that.
Yeah.
So you'll get, for your favorite team, you'll get like 20 minutes of us being dumb.
Yeah.
So, or me being dumb and Logan deciphering. So congrats to you.
Congrats to you.
Hornets fans out there that are just waiting for more Hornets love.
Yeah, I've had some Kings. I've had some Cavs fans say that they want us to talk about them. Yeah. So we'll get to those. Honestly, it's kind of funny. Well, I guess that makes sense because fans of big markets wouldn't ask something like that because they don't need to.
And also, the Boston people probably don't want me to keep talking. They're like, your takes are wild, my guy.
I have seen a couple of Celtics fans, but they don't really talk about anything about that, like, hey, you should talk about us more or something. But they probably get enough of that from like everywhere. So
yeah.
Anyways, FIBA. So starting off, I'll just give the Team Australia a quick shout out because you were just talking about Josh Giddey and like. I just had a thought earlier, a few days ago about like who is my favorite team to watch that's not America, in this tournament, and it's like far and away Australia. Like
you don't like watching Jordan in the left-handed Kobe Bryant hoop.
I'm more down with the Os with the sauce and Dyson Daniels. Josh Green, Patty Mills, especially.
Yeah,
Joey
he turns
Ingles.
into a different human wearing the gold and green.
He does, for real. Jack White, not the front man of the White Stripes, but a former Denver Nugget, now Oklahoma City Thunder player. And then Matisse Thybulle and Dante Exum. Just some of the notable names. I think Xavier Cooks was another NBA player, but I'm not too familiar with his work. So not a very notable name to me, at least, but going to be donning a Wizards jersey, though, this upcoming season. But yeah, I wanted to give them a shout out just because they have so many fun guys and they're just a blast to watch. But moving on to the U.S., covering some of their stuff. So they've had 2 FIBA official games so far.
They're group games that they've played.
Yep. And so we've got 2 dubs so far and a lot of surprise. There's a lot of things to talk about from these 2 games. So I wish we would have given ourselves a little bit more time, but we'll try to get to as much as possible.
If it goes a little long, it's fine.
Okay. Then we have permission from the Jacobster that
it's fine
that we can go a little long. But so the first game, that was a New Zealand game, that will be remembered as the Paolo Banchero game. He was player of the game for sure. And the interesting thing about this game, and also the interesting thing about how we just had that long segment about Walker Kessler, either last episode or the episode before, about how I was saying he's going to be playing a actual role for this team. So far, these first 2 games has not at all. And I New Zealand, it made sense because if you were curious, if you look at the New Zealand Tall Blacks, I think is their mascot, or they call themselves.
Yeah, because rugby it's all blacks, so basketball it's Tall Blacks.
Oh, okay.
It's because their rugby kit is all black.
Oh, and so is their.
It has nothing to do with
NBA jersey. Yeah. I honestly thought that it wasn't the words tall and black. I thought it was a Maori word, it's native.
Tall black.
Okay.
And maybe there is something, but from what I understand, I think there was 2 New Zealand teams, all blacks and something else.
No, you're probably right. I just assumed off of hearing the word. I haven't seen it spelled or anything.
So it's Tall Blacks, New Zealand. They're tall.
Yeah, because they play basketball. But they're not actually very tall because they're missing their big man in the middle, Steven Adams, their only NBA player from their nation. But so they don't have a single center on their roster. So they're all the biggest guys are big wings. And so the U.S., in order to match up with that, Steve Kerr decided, I'm just going to put Paolo Banchero in as our 5. I use him as a small ball switchable 5. And that was just an amazing lineup. It's insane to me how much better our second unit is than our first unit, but it is clear as day. Every time that second unit checks in, things change. Things start working for the Team USA. And it's, for those wondering, that second unit is Tyrese Halliburton at the point. Well, I guess whoever you want to call the point guard between Tyrese Halliburton and Austin Reaves. Both of them kind of handle the ball handling duties. And then Josh Hart and obviously Paolo Banchero down at the 5. Who is the 4? Cam Johnson is the 4. So that group has been playing very well together. The starting group has more of the stepping on each other's toes kind of vibe, kind of issues.
We can talk about that because one of them is angry.
Absent. Angry. Yeah. Brandon Ingram.
He just angry enough to just to bring it up hey, I'm glad we're winning, but I'm not getting mine.
Yeah. I can see that from the standpoint of he wants to, he just feels like he's not being used correctly, which I kind of agree with from the standpoint of if you want to get the best out of Brandon Ingram, then he needs more reps in the pickup. He's not an off ball, spot up shooter. That's not what Brandon Ingram is. In the NBA, it's 30% of his possessions or shot attempts came in the pick and roll. And that is compared to less than 5% so far in the FIBA games. So it's a very different role that he's trying to adjust to. And also, I feel like he's having the most problems out of every player so far on the team with the rule changes, like adapting to the difference in like the traveling call. Like, because for those who don't know, in FIBA, when you take off with your dribble, in the NBA, as soon as the ball leaves your hands is when you're allowed to pick up that pivot foot.
Mm-hmm.
But in FIBA, the ball has to reach the floor, touch the floor before that pivot foot can pick up. So,
which I don't understand at all.
You don't understand?
Like, I don't why they have that as the rule.
Yeah, like you don't like that.
It seems like a handicap for fast players.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like
so
that.
like a handicap for slow players against fast players.
Yeah,
like it almost doesn't neutralize Anthony Edwards' first step, but like, yeah, if he can throw the ball down like 4 foot that way and get to it, he doesn't do that. But it's just anyway.
Yeah,
It's caused a lot of issues for Brandon Ingram specifically.
Yeah, and it's not that he's necessarily like has like a insane burst or anything like that. It's just I think he's just his footwork is not like he's not made that adjustment as well. Because he'll pick that up before the ball has fully reached the floor. And the other thing I was going to bring up is it really seems like, and this isn't a complaint as much as it is an observation. Like I don't get mad at it, and I don't have a problem with the whistle being different for the U.S. versus Greece or versus New Zealand, but it's just an observation that every single time that it's like, because traveling sometimes, like when you see it in live action, it's kind of like a gray area sometimes where it's like that could have been, that could not, every single time it's in that gray area, they're blowing the whistle. They're calling a travel on the United States. But it seems like whenever it's in the gray area on the other team, then it's let go. It's kind of like, and even more so like in the Greece game, especially in the first half, I counted, there was like in a 1 or 2 minute stretch, there was like 3 like glaringly obvious like shuffling of the feet while they were not dribbling, and like, very clear travels that weren't called, that I was like, that definitely would have been called if it was on the US. Sorry, Jacob, you were going to say something.
No, I just was like, I also think that like going back to this FIBA rule, in terms of the refs, it's harder to know if the ball gets to the ground.
Yeah, it is.
Before they set, like, oh, it's not in his hand. He's good to move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, off of that stupid logic, if he passes the ball, can he not move?
Yeah, can he not pick up his foot?
Until the ball hits someone else's hands and then hits the floor? Like, and I know that's being dramatic. Or facetious or obtuse, whatever. But it's just a dumb, like, the unlimited paint making Rudy Gobert like a cheat code on defense. Whatever. That's like a little stylistic change.
Yeah.
The other one I think is just stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. I also like there's a few rules like you were saying, like I like the grabbing the ball off the rim as soon as the ball touches the rim, it's alive.
Mm-hmm.
It happens, like it comes into play a lot less frequently than you would think. Like it's really only like a couple of times a game maybe that it actually happens. But when it does, it's always fun. Like it's like, oh, somebody just jumped up and swiped it off of the rim and now we're head the other way, That's just kind of cool. But the other thing though that we were going to talk about, so Paolo Banchero definitely was player of the game, came in, he was a beast defensively, which is just so interesting. Like there's some players
out of everyone to step up defensively.
Yeah. It's always interesting to see like players who are not like they're the focal point on their team in the NBA when they come and play in Team USA, like how they adapt to like a different role, what it looks like. I love this version of Paolo Banchero. Like I want him like that to be the version of him in the NBA, honestly.
Like you want the Magic or wherever he goes to find a first option for him.
Exactly.
So he can just do this.
Like he is like insane defensively, and then he can give you like a shot creation factor and like just, can get hot and score from anywhere whenever he wants. You know what I mean? It just doesn't have to be we're running that every possession whether he has it or not.
No, and like this is like peak Draymond, had better defense obviously, but like It's that same type of player where you're like, this guy will give you insane defense. And peak Draymond had this offensive side that you're like, okay, don't disrespect Draymond's offense. And then he could also do a lot of the facilitating things. This was a very short peak. You could argue it was a 1 year, like Draymond is this insane everywhere. Not that he was the same level of offense, but just trade a little bit of that
just not,
defense for offense.
Definitely not in the scoring factor, like scoring department, but like
but in terms
other
of being
skills offensively, he definitely
Swiss Army knife. He just did all sorts of, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And so the other example though of somebody that I feel like has done this before was Zach LaVine on the 2021. What was that? That was the Olympics. So it was the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, but it was in 2021. On that team, he was like, Zach LaVine, for those who don't know, is like pretty terrible defensively in the NBA. But for Team USA, him and Drew Holiday were like our best point of attack defenders. It's just kind of like how it's crazy to see how much, like, just because they're not
thinking about offense.
Yeah, taking the load offensively, how much they can just shift their mentality on the defensive end and like be such a great player from that standpoint. It's pretty wild. And like that, especially Paolo more than Zach LaVine, because just with Paolo's size, he has the potential to be way more impactful defensively.
And way like switchable, like in every way. He's
like volleyball spiking stuff out of everywhere so far these 2 games. And it's been wild to watch. Yeah, but he only played, I say only, 19 minutes is like pretty big for this Team USA. Like most of the players play around like 15 to 20. So 19 minutes, he had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 blocks. This is the New Zealand game, by the way. 8 of 10 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3. And those were on back-to-back possessions as well, those 2 threes. And in the defense, as we already mentioned. But yeah, he had a pretty good second game as well. And that's kind of what I brought up about Walker Kessler earlier, why he hasn't seen the floor a whole lot, was because number one, like in the first game, it made sense, just matchup-wise. And then Paolo played so freaking well that game that it was like, it would have been dumb not to go to that again against Greece, even though they have 7'1" Papagiannis in the middle. Paolo Banchero at 6'10". You're not giving up too much of a size disadvantage there.
And with the athleticism, it's like a wash.
So it was interesting, and it worked pretty well in the second game as well. Walker Kessler played a little bit more in that game and looked pretty good, getting some big blocks. But Thanasis Antetokounmpo absolutely yammed it on Walker Kessler with like a drop step. That was surprising. But yeah, so the other thing I wanted to mention was Triple J. I figured for every game I wanted to do like a foul count for Triple J. So he fouled out, and we're about like halfway, not even halfway through the fourth quarter of game 1. And then Josh Hart, he was you already know, I just gave away the answer, but I was about to, I wanted to ask you who you thought was the leader in plus minus in that game 1.
It was Josh Hart.
Yeah. And this leads me, I'll just go straight into this since we're doing it. So through 2 games, we have 4 players on Team USA who are over 30 in plus minus. Don't look at any numbers.
30.
Yeah. We have 4 players who are over 30 through 2 games. Total plus minus. Who do you think they are?
I guess it's Josh Hart.
Josh Hart is number 1 with 41. He's a plus 41.
I'm going to get the roster up.
Yeah.
I will not have stats. It'll just be the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's going to be someone I'm going to forget about that'll do it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at this beautiful...
Just to give you a hint.
Halliburton?
Yes. Tyrese Halliburton is 4th with 32, plus 32. But just to give you a hint, none of them start.
Yeah, I would guess that. Because our starters are... like you said it earlier, they're just kind of dysfunctional.
Yeah.
My boy Reaves, Austin Reaves.
Yep, Austin Reaves is 2nd with plus 38. So 1 more. Who's 3rd?
Mikal Bridges?
Nope. He starts.
Oh, he starts. Because I remember seeing the picture of him doing this. And then people are like, for those that aren't watching, I did a finger gun at the camera. And so people are like, what if Ja did this?
I actually didn't even see that, but it sounds funny.
Is it Bobby Portis?
No, it's not Bobby Portis.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Paolo
Banchero. Yep. With a plus 36. And then one person has double-digit rebounds so far total. Do you want to guess who that person is?
Average or total?
Total. Through 2 games has double-digit rebounds.
Is it like Anthony Edwards?
Nope. Positionally, you're pretty close.
Wait, is it the dog, the bulldog, Jalen Brunson?
No, but you're still close.
I've only been able to watch highlights, so I haven't been able to watch the game, so I have no feel.
A college teammate of his.
It's Josh Hart?
Mm-hmm.
The dog.
15 boards through two games. And he's the only one over 10. He, like I said the other episode, he grabs that wasn't an exaggeration. He grabs boards as well as a 7-footer, and he is 6'4". It's pretty. He had 11 rebounds in game 2.
Oh, so his entire lead was built in game 2 against Greece.
Yeah, I mean, 4 rebounds was probably like the second most in game 1 on our team.
Wow,
but
that's wild that just no one's rebounded.
Well, it's like everybody plays like half the game. And
I guess the minutes I need to remember that the game is like
it's a big rotation. We have like 12 guys playing.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so he had 6 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists in game 2, which was just an insane, weird looking stat line. But then we'll just keep going down the list here. Assists, 1 person over 10 so far through 2 games. You want to guess who that person is? No. He only has 6, I think. 3 and 3.
Is it Halliburton then?
No, that's who you would think it would be, but it actually is not.
Anthony Edwards?
No.
Like I said, I've only been able to watch highlights, so It
is the most popular player in the arena. Both of these games. Every time he touches the ball, the crowd goes wild. Austin Reaves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, I mean, the Lakers are by far the biggest team in Philippines. But Austin Reaves, this is an experience. I honestly feel like we could have just gotten rid of every other plan we had for today's episode just to talk about Austin Reaves, give him his own time. He has continued to surprise me at every turn. I feel like I just need to stop expecting less. I
expect for the for lack of a better term, Lynn's sanity to stop.
It keeps going. He started off playing at Wichita State. He was just like I shouldn't say spot up shooter. He was coming off screens. He was like a movement shooter, but kind of like a JJ Redick type thing. He's just running off screens, catching the ball, shooting. That's his entire role. He goes to Oklahoma. Then he's a point guard. It's okay. That's really you're switching entirely.
That's a wild pivot, but cool.
Yeah, and then he goes to the NBA, undrafted, to the Lakers. Gets thrown in
the perfect LeBron sidekick.
Yeah, but he first off he gets thrown in as we need some a small wing who can shoot threes and play defense. So he comes in. I'm playing defense and I'm just catching and shooting on the offensive end. Does that super well. Then they get rid of Russ. They're we need somebody to handle the ball while, with LeBron, he's doing that. And he's insanely good at it. LeBron is giving him the ball in fourth quarter, crunch time scenarios.
And arguably greatest player of all time is saying, Austin Reaves, I choose
run, pick,
you.
and roll for this game time decision, play possession that we need a basket on. I'm giving you the ball.
That's why MJ's the GOAT. MJ would never give that ball up.
Does that make him the GOAT, though? I'm not arguing that MJ's not the GOAT. I'm just saying that I don't think that's the reason he's the GOAT.
No, I'm just joking. Yeah. Because there's my favorite part is the one time MJ gave up the ball. There's a 5-minute chunk of every Bulls documentary talking about it when he gave the ball to Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
There's this every Bulls
each
thing
three-peat
talks about.
Each three-peat had one of those moments. The first three-peat had the John Paxson shot, and then the second one had Steve Kerr. But
like they make a big deal about when Michael Jordan gave the ball up,
and that wasn't even like, oh, I'm giving you the ball for you to run a set. It was like the defense is running at me, and you're wide open, and I'm just throwing you the ball to shoot it.
Yeah,
very different things.
And then from what I've seen highlight wise, and then even in because I was able to catch a lot of the, what do you call them? Like warm-up games or showcase games.
Oh, yeah, showcase. Mm-hmm.
He's just been on a team full of fun players to watch, the funnest that's not named Anthony Edwards, and that's just because I have just an unreasonable interest in watching Anthony Edwards play basketball.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Anthony Edwards has had some awesome moments for sure, but
not in the actual games. Anthony Edwards in the group play has been just
oh, yeah. He's been... I mean, not terrible.
Not pedestrian, but he's been there. He hasn't let people down.
He's been turning the ball over a lot. That's one thing. But yeah, and I mean, his shot selection sometimes is a little bit like, hey, there's other all-stars on this team also, but I'm not necessarily mad at it because I love he wouldn't be Anthony Edwards if he didn't do that. You know what I mean? As part of the deal.
Yeah, and they play Jordan next. I don't know if you've heard this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you know who is carrying Jordan on their back?
Not really. I don't think so.
Shooting 54% from field goal.
Is it an NBA player?
It is.
Okay, I had no idea.
Left-handed Kobe Bryant.
Okay, let me think. Left-handed Kobe Bryant.
That's what people have been calling him. I don't know why.
He plays in the NBA.
Played for sure. I don't want to say that he does for sure now. I'm pretty sure he does, but he.
How old is this?
28.
And give me his height because you said Kobe, so he's is he around
6'6"?
Oh, okay, so he is Kobe's size, and is he from Jordan?
His nationality is just listed as Jordan.
Would you think of this person as an American or?
Yes.
Oh,
I
as
had
an American?
no clue that this man had any connection to Jordan at all.
Okay. So he's an American to you. Does he have an American sounding name?
Yeah. He shares half of he's a 3-name guy. And one of them is 2 last names. First name, 2 last names.
Is it Kid Gilchrist?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say that would have been wild. That doesn't make any sense.
You've not seen anything about this?
No, I'm. To be fair, I'm not on Twitter very much, and I kind of just go on there to post my things and get off.
Okay,
but
he is second in the entire tournament for points per game at 31.5, behind Luka.
But I know who this person is.
Yes.
Can you give me the conference that he played in the NBA?
East is the first team I think of him with.
Was it an Atlantic team?
Yes.
Was it the Sixers?
The team that I have in my brain, no.
Is it your team?
No.
Is it the Raptors?
He played for the Raptors, but it's not the team I think of.
So it's the Knicks or the Nets?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the Nets?
I think of him as a Net. Because he was there the longest. His career is over, apparently.
And he was 6'6".
Last played in 2021 in Portland.
6'6". Man, this is a weird one.
Arizona College.
Can you give me his initials? The 3 letters.
RHJ.
Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
He's averaging 31.5 points through 2 games, 38.5 minutes a game, shooting 54% from the field, and just shy of 80% from the free throw line.
That is the most surprising thing I've heard in a long time. Rondé Hollis
So
Jefferson.
in Group C, which is the group, because he's in the USA
I was trying to
group.
think of a shooting guard. Rondé Hollis Jefferson's a small 4.
They're 0-2 with a negative 29-point differential. But it's Jordan. And if you look at their roster, it is a whole lot of teams I've never heard of. And then it says free agent, and it's Rondé Hollis Jefferson.
Oh my goodness.
Or no, he plays for Atléticos de Saint-Germain.
Which is a Greek, that's a Greek team, right?
Probably with Atléticos.
Yeah, which Greece is like one of the top 5-ish like leagues in the world, but it's not like, they're kind of separate from the Euro League.
But no, he is hooping. Because he forced this is the clip that circulated that made me look into this. He forced overtime on an insane and 1-3 against New Zealand in their last game.
Interesting. And so New Zealand won that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. New Zealand is pretty good, honestly. I was surprised by how, like, they came out to a 14-4 lead, like we were saying, how the first unit has kind of not been great for the U.S. I keep almost saying the Nuggets, just because like that's the only team that I always talk about as like my team, you know. But yeah, I wish we had a mascot, Team USA.
Oh, and the other thing is because the FIBA thing said Kobe is looking at this smiling. I feel like whoever tweeted that doesn't speak English.
Oh,
the person that runs but anyway, because it's just weird. And then he just wears 24, and he's just like,
okay, so that probably is a big reason for the comparison as well.
And he's just been hooping out of his mind.
Yeah, yeah. So, but with New Zealand though, New Zealand was like tenacious. Like they were very physical in that game. Mikal Bridges almost fouled out. But they had a couple players that I was super surprised by. One of them, Ruben I'm going to butcher this. Ruben Tarangi. Yeah, Ruben Tarangi. He played 30 minutes. He had 15 points. He was 3 for 8 from 3. But he has Bobby Portis eyes. Like he is like...
Looks like his head got squeezed and popping out a little bit.
And he was like... He was going at it with whoever... Like I think it was Cam Johnson for a while that they were defending each other. Like, and he was like, every time after he would do something, like he would just like stare him down, and like it was just so intense. And yeah, Shea Illy was the other guy that was like very impressive. Like he was pretty small as a guard, but I was like, wow, like he just seemed like a guy that could like come in for a like 12-minute stretch, you know, in an NBA game and kind of fill it up a little bit. But yeah, all of their players are like pro players in like the Euro League and the NBL and like, you know, different leagues like that. None of them are NBA guys, but yeah, so definitely some good basketball players though. But then we got the Greece game. Triple J only had 2 fouls in that one, so I think the least so far out of all of the games, including the showcase ones. But he had in 18 minutes, he had 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. Oh yeah, I didn't ask you about the blocks. Who you because that was another one of the my favorite ones. Who do you think is leading our team in blocks with 4 total?
Probably Bay Carroll.
He is tied with the other one, who's the more surprising one. Jaren Jackson Jr. has 3. Walker Kessler has 2. Mikal Bridges has 1. Those are everybody that has had a block other than the other guy that has 4.
Is it just Reaves? He just does everything?
No, but you're pretty close.
Same idea. Hart?
No. Like closer to Reaves, like in terms of his role on the team.
I keep wanting to say Anthony Edwards, but I can't.
Less than, like, he's in the same unit as Reaves. Second unit. Handles the ball.
Halliburton?
Yep, Tyrese Halliburton. 4 blocks. It's just really random. But
stinks. I'm in a fantasy draft and I got the 8th pick. It's like a nightmare.
You're doing
scenario.
the draft right now?
Sorry. Not like actively.
Oh.
It kicks off in a minute and a half.
Okay.
We can keep going. It's okay.
No,
I've already got my stuff locked down.
Uh-huh.
Also, I wanted to do that little Foursquare or that little trivia game.
Yeah, so we'll wrap this up here. The Greece, Austin Reaves was the player of that game. Honorable mentions for that one just because it wasn't like super definitive. There was a couple other guys that you could maybe make the case for, and that was Jalen Brunson, who didn't miss a single shot in game 2. Josh Hart, who we mentioned earlier, in 20 minutes, he had 6 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Austin Reaves, by the way, had 17 minutes, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 4 of 7 from the field, 6 of 6 from the free throw line, and he was a plus 19 overall, which he's been a plus 19 in both games so far. But yeah, so that kind of wraps up the whole FIBA thing. I don't think we have too much else to talk about there. We ran over Austin Reaves and Paolo Banchero. I felt like those were the 2 guys that I really thought we should talk about this episode. And both of them got their little shine. And Josh Hart had a little mini splurge as well. But yes, so we're going to end this episode by doing something a little different. You know, in the past, we've had like some not geography. What is wrong with me? Trivia games like to end the show. But that's been mainly with just like NBA only. This is a little bit more all over the board. It's by Barstool, apparently.
Yep, it's the dozen. They do like it's great YouTube viewing. I'm a big trivia guy. I enjoy it. And it's just pretty much like they do like a trivia contest thing that they put on YouTube as like a quote unquote game show. But then they started doing this thing that every day, obviously it's day 36, where they have, it's almost the same-ish categories every day, but you get sports as well as pop culture. And so I thought it would be good to see how we do. Last time me and Logan did this, I can't remember if it was on camera, but we nailed it out of the park. Got a good old 9 out of 9. So
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I think I had contributed to maybe 2 of those, but
let's kick it off here. So
yeah,
I don't know if it records the screens, but anyway, Justin Tucker set the NFL record for longest made field goal when he knocked down a 66-yard game winner against the. Oh, do you know it?
So what team did he plays for? The
Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
It was week 3 of the 2021 NFL season.
Was it against the Giants?
No. The NFC North.
So it was the Lions?
Yeah, it's Detroit. Sorry, I started typing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Detroit Lions.
Okay. I remember that game, but I don't remember. I guess I didn't remember who they were playing.
So now we will go to the NBA.
Okay. I should be more of a help here.
What 3-time All-Star forward led the Western Conference in points per game during the 23-24 season while playing for the Sacramento Kings? 03-04 Kings.
Yeah, forward. It would have to be Chris Webber, a 3-time All-Star Western Conference, unless it's Peja Stojakovic, which I don't. He led the Western Conference in points. Yeah, I know Peja had like a 20-something points per game season at one point. But I don't know if he's the better guess than Chris Webber. Because I kind of
3-time All-Star. That's what makes me like
that feels a little high for Peja, and that might feel a little low for Chris Webber.
That's what we can come back to it.
Yeah, I think honestly that's a coin flip for me.
Ron Baker and Fred VanVleet were in the backcourt of this 2013 Missouri Valley Conference team.
Yeah.
They went 35-0, and they got upset by 8-seed Kentucky in the 2014 tournament.
Mm-hmm.
For those wondering, the answer is definitely Wichita State. Books. While it was the sequel to the Da Vinci Code movie, this book was actually the first published in Dan Brown's series back in 2000. Is Da Vinci Code Angels and Demons?
The only Dan Brown I know of is Danny Brown, the rapper. So
no, because there's 3 of them. It's Angels and Demons, like the Repentance or the Redemption or so, and then the Da Vinci Code. So I think I'm going to go Angels and Demons because I don't even remember the 3rd movie.
Yeah, I'm not going to be. I've never. Fun fact: never read a book in my life. It's literally, I'm not lying. I'm not even kidding. The closest I got was Of Mice and Men. I was, I don't know, like maybe 3/4 of the way into it. But
oh, that's crazy. Okay.
And that's only because that book is only 201 pages long.
Celebrity matchup. Oh, dear Lord. For those that can't see,
oh, wait.
Google it.
Okay, I'm guessing it's Taylor
I know the
Swift.
Inside.
And,
okay.
Oh, wait.
I think it's Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yeah. I see that now.
I just don't know if the out.
It might be Taylor Swift. It could be like a number of just blonde women.
Bang.
Okay, yeah.
Taylor Swift and Jimmy Fallon.
Nice.
Chain restaurants, Black and Ranch, Bold Barbecue, and Sweet Heat have been dipping sauces at what elite fast food major chicken chain over the years? That would be Popeyes, baby.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was thinking that with Black and Ranch.
Television, Rob Lowe and Adam Scott joined the cast during season 2 of what NBC sitcom?
Parks and Recreation.
Yes, sir. Movies. Lots of Hug and Bear was the main antagonist of what 2010 animated film and Best Picture nominee? You know this one?
Lots of Hug and Bear is the main antagonist of.
I know that off the rip. Lots of Hug and Bear.
I don't even know what that is. Is that like his name?
It's like what he is.
It's like a brand of like a product.
He's a toy.
Okay.
Come on, dig deep. 2010. Lots of Hug and Bear is the main antagonist, and he's a toy.
Oh, Toy Story 3.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I remember that now. I don't remember him being called that, but
no, that's just a brand. I don't think they call him Lots of Hug and Bear. But what 2010 Katy Perry song opens with "Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?"
Yes, that would be Firework.
So now that's 8 out of 9 for those not watching.
It's funny that I knew like all of them, but the books and NFL. Yeah, and why you helped me to get the Toy Story one. But it's funny, like NBA, I would think would be like the only one I would get.
Well, and this one's just tough because I don't know which one it is either. I have like no guesses.
Yeah. Well, I know it's got to be one of those two.
I don't have any more logic other than what we've already established and put out there.
Yeah.
Was Chris Webber ever the leading scorer in the Western Conference?
That
per game
feels
wrong.
I wouldn't say wrong. It feels like pretty possible. It feels more wrong for Peja Stojakovic, but I know for a fact that he had like more points than you would think, and at least
that
one
year specifically.
Yeah, I don't know if it was 04, but it was somewhere in his prime. I'm leaning Peja Stojakovic, honestly. I would say
what I typed first.
Yeah,
I say we send it.
I said I'm going to say send it.
Damn. 9 out of 9.
There we go. Peja Stojakovic.
A lot of people probably went Chris Webber. It's the lowest percentage today.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. It's probably it's kind of a trick question.
Like it's definitely a difficult one.
Like I think it's obviously the person who made the question is like, you're going to think this is Chris Webber. You know, that's like the catch.
The goal, quote unquote. Yeah.
And yeah, so looking at Peja Stojakovic 04 season, yeah, he was a 3-time All-Star in 3 straight seasons, 02, 03, and 04. But he averaged 24.2 points per game with 6.3 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and he shot 93% from the line on 5 attempts a game. And he shot 43.3% from 3-point range at 7 attempts a game, which is a lot now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a pioneer.
But yeah, that does it. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/hoop theory.
Mm-hmm. And buy me a coffee.
Or buy me a coffee and buy Logan a coffee, because all I do is sit down, show up, and irritate you for approximately an hour.
If you buy me enough coffees, then I will think about handing one to Jacob.
And build a cup fort for me to live in outside of his house. With that being said, you have an absolutely great rest of your life. Logan, would you like to do the proper outro, not intro, been going for a while, outro to the Cancar episode?
Yeah, Vlatko Cancar episode 49. Thank you guys for listening to it. And we love you. We appreciate you. And stay happy, stay healthy. We will talk to you guys in the next episode.
Peace.
Wow, that one's going to be
some juice.
Yeah, got some heat on that one.